Hello, today I'm going to share with you a requested video of how to draft a shawl collar blazer jacket. So if it's your first time viewing my channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let's dive right into today's video. So now I've marked out all the basic measurements I need for this particular pattern, so which is the shoulder to bust line, shoulder to waist line, and the top length I'm using is 23 inches. For this particular pattern we are not making use of the under bust because it is a blazer. So next I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2, which is 7, adding half inch, 7.5. I'll come down by 1 inch. So at the neckline I'll be using 3 by 2 inches because first we are drafting out the back pattern of this dress. So now I'm going to place my French curve and I'm going to go ahead to connect. Now I'm going to connect from the shoulder down to the neckline. So in case if you're wondering why I'm doing a freehand sketch, so I have a requested video from one of my subscribers to draft my pattern on a freehand. So in our next video I'll actually be using my ruler. So now I'm going to get the chest line, which is the bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Whatever I have there I'm going to mark and I will get a straight line. So after marking that, whatever I have at the shoulder, which is 7.5, my shoulder divided by 2, which is 14 divided by 2, I have 7 plus half inch because this pattern has sleeve, and I'll just go ahead to connect. So after connecting, I'm going to outline it and I'm going to place my tape, come up by 1.5 inches, place my French curve, and I will connect. But before connecting, I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and I'll connect. So this is the armhole I have at this point. I'll just blend it in a little. So after this, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 7 divided by 2. I have 3.5. I'll go ahead and mark it, and after marking it I'm just going to go ahead to connect and draw a straight line. So after doing that, the next step is you want to go ahead to outline it, and after doing that you're going to mark your dart. Go ahead and mark half inch at both sides of your waistline, then extend it upwards and then extend it down to the lower part of your pattern. So now you want to go ahead and mark your bust circumference. Mark 1.5 inches for your sewing allowance. Whatever you have on the bust line, extend to the chest line. Now mark your waist circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake of 1 inch and mark your sewing allowance of 1.5. At the top length, you're going to mark your hip circumference divided by 4 and mark your sewing allowance of 1.5 inches. So after that, go ahead and connect from the bust down to the waistline and from the waistline down to the hip points. Now go ahead and use your marker to outline your pattern. From your top length, go up by 1 inch and you're going to go ahead to place your French curve and connect. If you don't have a French curve, go ahead and use your freehand sketch. So now, after that, we'll be getting rid of the bulginess at the back of the dress. So I'm going to mark half inch at the waistline and I'm going to go ahead to extend it down to the lower part and extend it upwards. So I forgot to mention that this is the back pattern of the dress actually. So for this, we're starting with the back pattern. So after that, the next step is just to go ahead and cut out my pattern. So if you have any question concerning this particular video, please leave the question at the comment section, and don't forget to hit on the subscribe button if you haven't yet subscribed. Now to draft out my front pattern, so I ran short of brown paper and I had to merge the two types that I have. So now I'm going to go ahead to mark out my measurement. First, because we're going to be adding a collar to this dress, I'll mark about 5 inches upwards. So after that, I'll go ahead to rule a line. So before ruling that line, I'm going to go ahead to use my red marker to mark it out. And on the front part also, I'm still going to measure about 5 inches because the lapel of this jacket is actually bigger. You can use about 3 to 5 inches for it depending on how wide you want it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and draw a straight line and connect all those points. So after drawing out the line, this is what I have, and now we are going to start our measurements. So I'm going to mark my shoulder to bust line, which is 9 inches, shoulder to waistline, which is 17 inches. So everybody's measurement is different. Yours and mine might not be the same. And after that, I'm using the top length for my blazer jacket. I'm using 23, so you can just measure and decide where you want yours to stop. So now I'll rule a line and draw out a straight line at those points. So after drawing out a straight line on those points, I'll go ahead to label my pattern. So after that, I'm going to go ahead to measure my shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch, then go down by 1 inch because we'll be drawing our shoulder slope or shoulder slant from there. Now for the front neckline, I'm using the basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches. So I'll go ahead to place and I'll connect and draw out my neckline. So I'll go ahead and connect my shoulder slope this way. So now you want to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Mine is 7 inches, and whatever I have here, I'm going to be marking it at this point just to have a straight line. So whatever I have at my shoulder, which is 7.5, I'll be marking it at my chest line, which is my shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch. So after marking this out, I'm going to go ahead to divide this into 2 and I'll come in by half inch. After that, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and I'll be using that as a guide. Go ahead to connect from the French curve down to the armhole at the middle and then connect to the shoulder. Now I'm going to go ahead to draw this out. So after doing this, I'm going to go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. Go ahead to mark it at the chest line, bust line, waistline, and I'll mark it at my top length. Go ahead to rule a straight line. Now I will repeat the same procedure I did for the front, and I'll go ahead to connect and draw out my dart for the front pattern, just like I marked half inch on both sides of my waistline and I marked out my dart. Now I'm going to divide what I have at the shoulder into 2 and I'll mark. Go ahead to connect it down to my nipple to nipple line this way. So with that, we'll be cutting through this part when we're actually cutting out, or you can just create like a princess dart at the armhole area. So next, I'll be marking my body circumference. At the bust, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 plus my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches. At the waistline, I'm going to mark the waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace it, and mark my sewing allowance. Now at the hip, I'm going to mark the hip circumference divided by 4. Go ahead and add my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches, and after that I'll connect from the chest line to the bust, from the bust to the waistline, and from the waistline down to the hip point. So this is what I have, and I'll go ahead to outline it. So sorry that my pattern paper is a little rough, so let's continue with our pattern. And after this, I'm just going to go ahead to go up by 1 inch just like we did at the front, and I'll connect it back for the waistline of the front. So now we're going to go ahead to cut out the lapel area of this dress, which is a little tricky. So now I'm going to go ahead to measure what I have at the neckline of the back pattern. So after measuring it, I have 3.7 inches. So you might measure yours and have 3.5. That is also okay. So I'll extend my line upwards this way. So while drawing your line, don't make it a straight line, slope it a little, and after that I'll just go ahead and mark half inch. So this is to make sure that the neckline relax at the back, because the neckline we have at the back is not really straight. We have a curve like your normal curve neckline, so slope it down to the normal shoulder and I'll mark 4 inches from there. So why I'm using 4 inches for this is actually because the collar and the lapel of this dress is actually very wide. So what I'm going to do next is to go ahead to come up by 1.5 inches after my waistline. So after coming up from that point, sorry, I'm going to go ahead to come out by 2.5 inches starting from that point. So you can as well use 3 inches because actually what we have here is a bit wide, and after that I'm just going to extend it out. Now I'm going to connect from that point down to the lower part. From the neckline, I'm going to go ahead to extend it down to that point we came up by 1.5 inches from the waistline. So after that, moving up, I'll just go ahead and mark 3 inches because I want it to have like a little curve at this point. Then I'll connect it down, and from that point I'm just going to go ahead to connect it to the upper part of the neckline this way, drawing out a little curve. So while doing that, make it a little curvy, or you can just leave it straight if you want to. So now after I'm done doing this, I will just go ahead and outline this pattern, and we're almost done with cutting out this pattern. So at the lower part of this dress, you notice that there's like a little curve. From my nipple to nipple, I slanted down to 1 inch and I connected back, then went up again to the other part of the lapel, and then I went down by 1 inch at the center. So when I was cutting this, it didn't really show very well, but after drawing it out, I'm just going to show you what I have at that point. So after drawing out, this is what I have. So just like I said, I extended the line I have at the center by 1 inch, and I took it up, slanted it up back to the pattern. So at this point, I'm done with this tutorial, and the next step is just to go ahead to cut out my pattern. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and leave your comment at the comment section. So see you in our next video. Thanks.